should say right there once it's.
Looks like it's going.
Perfect. We're live. Good morning, everybody. Joe and Joe actually in person live this morning. We are here today to talk about South Florida Tech here on the South Florida Tech podcast, a weekly show where we bring you the awesome, innovative people building our tech community. This is, of course, presented by Tech Hub South Florida, a nonprofit dedicated to building South Florida into a tech hub. And each week, we're bringing you some of the Sunshine State's top tech leaders to tell you about who they are, what they do, and have some fun conversation along the way. I need to drink some more coffee this morning. And I'm joined here by our co-host, Joanna Mikkola.
Hi, everyone. Joe here, CEO and co-founder of Wyncode Academy, now BrainStation, a global leader in digital skills training. Super excited about the conversation today.
So Joe Russo of Palm Beach Tech and Joanna Mikkola of Wyncode are now Joe Russo of Tech Hub South Florida and Joanna Mikkola of BrainStation. So we're making some
leveling up.
We're making some moves in 2021 as well. And of course, we want to thank our main sponsor for today, Emerge Americas. They have done so much to build our tech community here in South Florida. Each year, global enterprises, disruptive technology, and lead startups are highlighted at Emerge's premier tech event, Connecting the Americas, held in Miami Beach, and has hosted organizations from over 40 countries and featured over 250 speakers from around the world. So morning, we are joined by one of the leaders of the tech movement here in South Florida and Miami today, Mayor Francis Suarez. And he's going to be off video for the most part today, but we wanted to have this conversation, of course, as the big things start to happen throughout South Florida. He's been a leader for this, but a little bit of his background. He was selected with 86% of support of Miami residents to become the 33rd mayor of the city of Miami. That's amazing. He works diligently to serve the residents of the community where he was born and raised. And before that was also a commissioner for District 4 of the city of Miami. He earned his bachelor's degree in finance from Florida International University, where he graduated in the top 10% of his class, and then went on to earn his law degree from the University of Florida, where he graduated cum laude. And additionally to being mayor, he's also an attorney with the law firm of Greenspoon Martyr, specializing in corporate and real estate transactions. But most importantly of all, he is married to his wife, Gloria, and they have a son, Andrew. Blessed to be raising their family in the city of Miami. And I can speak for us here that we're honored to have Mayor Suarez as one of our great elected leaders for South Florida. So thank you very much for joining us today. Mayor, I think you want to unmute there, actually.
It's that Zoom mute. It gets
there we go.
everyone.
There we go.
There
Thank
we
you,
go.
guys. It's Tuesday, but it's almost like Monday morning blues. Thanks, guys. It's wonderful to be with you this morning.
Wonderful.
So to start off, I would love for you to give us the elevator speech in the city of Miami, and of course, tell us a little bit about you and how you became the mayor of this great town or city.
Well, it really does start with my father, who was the first Cuban mayor of Miami in 1985. I like your father, who we were sort of talking about offline, was a mayor of a city as well. I got a chance to see him up close and personal. And I, frankly, growing up, never really thought I was going to necessarily get into politics. I got married, I bought a house, I did what everybody does. I got involved in my homeowners association. And as I saw things that didn't make me happy about the way things were functioning in my neighborhood, I decided that I could take two paths. I could complain about it and become an active citizen, or I could become part of the governmental process to try to make it better. So when I was 30 years old, I was running my own small business, married without kids at the time. I decided to run for office. And I thought, this is a good way that I can contribute, that I could give back to the city that I grew up in, that gave me all the opportunities that I have. And I was elected even though I was elected mayor, as you said, by 86%, oftentimes people don't remember or don't know that I was elected commissioner by 262 votes, by a very, very, very small margin. It was about 1.5%. And so, that really highlighted to me how important it is to stay connected to your bosses, which are the people that you represent. And that campaign that I ran it door to door. I literally went house to house, understanding what were the needs of the community, understanding intimately how government could better serve its people. So when you fast forward to me being mayor for 3 years, and I send out a tweet, how can I help? And people see it as some sort of earth-shattering thing. The reality is I've been asking, how can I help, for 11 years, actually for 13 years, if you consider the 2 years that I ran for commissioner. So it's very much in line with my philosophy on what government should be and how it should work to serve people.
That's amazing. And I will say also, as an entrepreneur in the ecosystem, I have lived it and experienced the how can I help. So I just want to say thank you and so much gratitude for that. You've definitely been part of our success story at Wyncode and now at BrainStation, which is awesome. So I do want to talk about that. I mean, how can I help? And looking to move to Miami, DM me now on a billboard. Those are, it's amazing to see the conversation that has started and how viral those tweets have gone. So I wanted to ask a little bit, did you anticipate that it would be such a sensation, that it would get such a conversation going? And, further to that, what can Miamians, what can South Floridians do to join this movement that we see happening?
The how can I help tweet that I put out, I did not think it was going to go that viral. It was definitely just a response to a tweet that I saw randomly on my feed by Delian, which said, what if we, made Miami into the next Silicon Valley? And I really didn't expect and didn't know what I was really tapping into. And I think it was a huge amount of dissatisfaction or disconnection between governments in the areas where many of the founders are located. And so for me and for them, I guess, seeing a public official say, hey, you are not the enemy. Hey, you are people who create businesses, who create high-paying jobs, who give people an opportunity to fulfill their dreams, who change the way we live and the way that we make decisions in our society. You're not the enemy. And I think that is something that, resonated with that community. We have major issues in not only in our city, but in every city in America, like income inequality. And, people are often trying to blame someone. They want to scapegoat somebody. Is it the government's fault? Is it private industry's fault? And the reality is it's all of our faults. You know what I mean? In the sense that, and it's also the people's individual faults at times. We have to collectively strive day in and day out to make a more perfect city, which gives more opportunities to more people. And I think that's why I've been such a big supporter of Wyncode, because, Wyncode basically says, we haven't given up on you. We believe that you matter, you have value. You may not have the skills in this particular moment to thrive in the economy of today and tomorrow, but we're going to empower you. We're going to give you those skills so you can feel your worth and you can give back to our community. And I think, to me, that is the most powerful thing that you can do in a person's life.
Yeah, thank you so much for saying that. I think we need to have you as our CMO. You got to come join our team. But yeah, I couldn't agree more. I really think it's all about upskilling and reskilling South Florida and anyone, because honestly, a career in technology is possible for anyone. And as we're seeing right now with the work you're doing, a tech ecosystem is possible anywhere. So I think that's really awesome. Thank you.
I agree.
And, one of the things, this is really kind of a movement that's going on right now, right? Mm-hmm. It's a movement that everybody is a part of, and it's very foundational too. It's a lot of work with people mm-hmm. like Joe, who have been, putting a lot of pieces together.
And Joe.
Yeah, a lot of pieces have been coming together over the last few years. But this movement that we have right now, the Miami Tech Movement, the South Florida Tech Movement, how do you imagine this keeps going, and what does it take to be involved in it from your perspective?
I think everybody should be involved, because I think one of the things, and I've done some tough interviews. I did a tough interview yesterday about it, and I think what the first thing I want to say about it is that it shouldn't be partisan. I think that, this conversation all too often becomes a partisan conversation. I don't think it should be a partisan conversation. So I think that's number one. Number two, I think we have to realize and come to the realization that tech is here to stay. It's a part of our life. It's a part of every industry in the world, and it's only going to become more part of our life. And so we can deny it, we can pretend it doesn't happen, we can push it away. There's all kinds of things that we could do, but all we're doing is denying the reality that our future is going to be more tech-based. So I think the better position is to confront it. I think the better position is to say, hey, how can we thrive in this environment, which is disruptive, which is constantly evolving and changing? And so I think as a person, as an individual, as a parent, for example, you got to be thinking about, how can I make sure that my child has all of the tools to be successful, right? Do they have the digital tools? Do they have broadband? Do they have the right educational curriculum? As an adult, you have to think to yourself, what is my career path? What am I doing? And is my line of work going to survive this rapid disruption? And if it's not, then how can I prepare myself for that future? And so I think that's part of it. I think the other part of it is there's a social component to what's happening here. And I think more and more, one of the things that I think is making Miami shine is that as this movement has grown, particularly in the last 3 months, I feel like it's becoming a more social movement. And you see that in areas like San Francisco and Silicon Valley and in Los Angeles and New York, where there's mature or more mature tech ecosystems. It becomes a part of the cultural fabric of the city. And I think you're seeing now tech chat groups, meetups, workouts, surfing, kite surfing, all kinds of things that people are doing together. So they're creating a social fabric around technology and innovative companies. And I think that's something that's helping us mature rapidly in terms of our ecosystem. It's only going to allow us to get bigger.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I have always found Miami, from a tech and startup ecosystem perspective, to be so welcoming and collaborative and supportive. And so it's great to see what's happening and welcoming all of the new people in. Just to talk a little bit more about that, and also to start talking about some of the initiatives that you're taking in order to further plan on keeping the momentum going, Venture Miami, for example, on the topic of, is tech really good for the ecosystem? What are the things that we want to navigate away from and make sure that we don't lose? Just like you said, the fabric of the city is really important. And that's going to be a mix of the newcomers and the people who have been here previously. So if you could speak a little bit more to that and touch on Venture Miami, it would be awesome to hear. I know there's an amazing team behind that too.
We're building that team, man. I think the question of whether tech is good it begins with the realization that income inequality is real. It's a part of it's a problem in every major city in America. We may have it in according to some statistics in worse ways than other cities. But the question is, what is the solution? And I think, to me, the solution is not higher taxes. To me, the solution is not telling your productive members of your community, you got to go because you're creating the problem. That to me is not the solution. I mean, to me, the solution is creating a city where you can grow companies, where you can create high-paying jobs, where you can upskill people to have those high-paying jobs, and you create a dynamic ecosystem. Is it easy to do? I would say the answer is no. If it was easy to do, everybody would have done it, and we would have replicated it, and everybody would be doing it, right? I mean, if it were a simple thing, I think it's going to take the public sector, the private sector, the philanthropic sector. I think it's going to take innovation and innovative companies, social capital companies that come in and try to create, models that monetize things that are socially good. So, I think it's going to take an all-encompassing generational effort. And I don't know whether we'll ever get there or not. But to me, what I've seen happen in areas that go down the other model of, which is, places like Cuba and Venezuela, where the government basically takes over and says, hey, we're going to nationalize property and we're going to create quote unquote equality. The only equality that they've been able to generate is equal misery for all of their residents. So to me, that's sort of the other dramatic end. And then in terms of, Venture Miami, I realized very quickly that I was not going to have the bandwidth to be able to deal with every single DM that came in and deal with every single call that came in. So I was very blessed. Saifi Shuf, who was sort of riding this wave alongside of me at FIU as head of advancement, had an idea of potentially doing a 1-year sabbatical and coming in and creating this Venture Miami team. And Mark Rosenberg, the president, as well as the board, was very receptive to that. They immediately said yes. And then, the Knight Foundation came in and gave us a grant for Melissa Kringsman, who is our VC in resident. First time we've ever had that in the history of the city. We're going to make a big announcement in the next week or two on tech equity and having a designated person on tech equity, which is going to be amazing. We have the DDA was very responsive. They gave us Kevin Reese to come in and work in our office. So we're trying to build this, obviously we have Mike Sarasti internally and Keith Carswell, who does economic development in the city. So we have this amazing team that we're putting together to make sure that no DM goes unanswered, that, we can create concierge-like services, highlight whatever incentives we have, and make sure that we're being as responsive as we possibly can be to grow the ecosystem as quickly as possible.
And I know I speak for our entire organization, our over 200 members and our board members, and whatever we can do to be a part of that. I think everybody wants to be a part of that, but whatever we can do, we're going to try and do our part every step of the way to help it.
I would say to engage with Saif and the team. You know what I mean? Because they're brainstorming every day. Once a week, we do major brainstorming sessions to try to find ways to accelerate this growth.
Yeah. And we just had Brad Feld on a couple of weeks ago, who very well known for writing the book Startup Communities, and he once termed it as an organized chaos of different things going on. It's a mix of government, entrepreneurial organizations, startup founders, like everybody really working to it. But it does take those leadership roles to really kind of speak up and say, like, hey, we're going to move forward together. So, as we're building up here, local government obviously has a role in all of this. But what role do you see local government being able to provide resources to these startups and these startup founders that are looking to call Miami home? Not just the Venture Miami as a leadership aspect, but what do you think like the city of Miami could be doing in the future to provide some tangible resources to these companies?
We're working on it. One of the things that we're doing is the DDA has a program right now where they give a $50,000 grant annually for 3 consecutive years, $150,000 total. They currently have the program seated at a $250,000 level. I'm working with Miami-Dade County to see if we can triple the size of that program from 250 to 750. We're also looking at funding Venture Miami, and that's something that we're looking at potentially doing in April in the mid-year. So we're trying to cobble together some funds for that. And look, I think Beacon Council has some programs as well for companies that are going to invest more than $3 million and hire more than 10 people, and that's a discount on county property taxes. I think we have to seize the moment, and I think that means we have to really look internally at what are our goals, what are our resources, and invest in a time when we have when we have to strike when the iron is hot, and it's hot right now. We have to be able to take advantage of that.
Yeah, 100%. It is definitely a very, very hot time, and we're excited. I mean, for me, I've been here in the ecosystem for 7 years, and I've always felt there's momentum, but now there's there's a national spotlight. So it's really interesting. And just going back to what you said about, every industry being a tech industry and needing to look at tech rather than ignoring it. I can't agree with that more. I think a lot of people who shy away from technology and incorporating it into local government, into your teams, into your businesses, are going to be at a huge disadvantage. So, I love how progressive you and the team have been. And even that, a lot of this communication is happening on DMs, right? So that is the way to reach the people and be connected with everyone. It's really incredible to see the impact that all of that's had.
And I think you're probably the first mayor who's ever said DM me in a communication means. Usually it's like call the office, whatever. No, DM me. That's really, it encapsulates something of modernity in the city, and the fact that we're like, you can even tweet with Elon Musk right now about a lot of things. Like there's a lot going on that just signals, hey, we're not the regular city anymore, and that's pretty neat.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, when I first got elected, one of the first things I did was put my Twitter handle on the door of City Hall. And I think there are little things that you can do as a public official that have an outside sort of punch above your weight impact. And I think that was one of them. I think obviously talking about crypto as much as we've talked about it, I think has really put us in the spotlight on that issue and we galvanized that community, which I think is a huge sub community of tech.
Huge.
And people don't really realize how big it is.
Yeah. So one more question here before because we want to talk about you as a person too, and not just as an official for a moment, but as representative of the city of Miami, as its chief ambassador, so to say, is there a specific message that you would like to share, that you'd like to get across to current and future founders who are looking to the city of Miami, to look to South Florida and say, hey, you got to come here?
I think the first thing I would say is we welcome you with open arms. I think the second thing is you're not going to find a city that is more, business friendly, that cares about your dollars, and not taking one more cent from you than necessary. Absolutely. That will do everything in its power to make sure that we have the best trained, the best skilled workforce to provide, employment for the companies that they're creating, but also so that they can provide for their own families and create upward mobility for themselves. We want to be the model in terms of a city that can be scaled nationally and internationally. We know we're dealing with big issues, but we don't consider them the enemy. We consider them the solution.
I love that, being a model of what's possible. I'm totally on board for that. That's great. And we're living it right now, each and every day. So
right.
Turning things over a little bit more to you as we wrap up on the podcast here shortly, wanted to ask first, what inspires you? What gets you to get up, go to work every day, be with your family, get in those workouts? Like what is driving you?
I think what drives me, first of all, is positivity. I think one of the reasons why, I stayed on this crusade as long as I did, because after the How Can I Help tweet, I tweeted 800 times in the month of December, from December 4th until December 31st. So 27 million impressions. And I think the reason why was because the reaction was so positive. So I think the dreaming of what's possible and having a chorus of people cheering you on and believing in you, that drives me. I mean, it's unique. It's believe it or not, it's uncommon in political life where you feel like you have the hopes and the dreams of an entire city behind you. Even when you're elected by 86%, there are moments, of course, when you feel like you're there, you've reached the top and everybody's got your back, and you're pushing the envelope. That's what it really excites me. And it's hard to describe how empowering it is. But this is a business that has a way of humbling you as well, very quickly.
I bet.
So, it's hard to keep that momentum up. It's hard to keep the volume up. I often say, we live in a 24-hour news cycle. And I think what people maybe will reflect upon later was not just how we changed our reputation almost overnight as a city, but how long we were able to sustain the attention of the nation. I think that's really an untold story, because it started in December and it's now, almost the end of February, at the beginning of December. So we're talking about all of December, all of January, and all of February to be talked about still in national news as this phenomenon. I think it's a real credit to what we're doing as a city that, frankly, we've been trying to do for 10 years. And we had a sort of lightning in a bottle moment that J-curved that growth.
Yeah, 100%. And I really got to say, how can I help? It, going to go down in history likely as, 4 words that changed the trajectory of Miami or brought a huge influx of people and attention. So that's really, really exciting. And
I hope you guys got your shirts.
Yeah, we got to get some t-shirts.
There
Absolutely. Love it. And also just want to shout out Saif and Melissa and Mike Sarasti, who have been incredible for many, many years, but doing so much in this community. You have an incredible team there. Really looking forward to collaborating with all of them. So as we wrap up here, little rapid fire to get to know you a little bit better. Tell us, if you have time to read, what is the book on your nightstand currently?
So the book on my nightstand right now is Digital Gold. I also have the Blue Zones. I just finished Bitcoin Billionaires. I do have the Startup Community on my nightstand. And that those are the ones that are right now on there.
Awesome. That's great. What is your most productive time of day?
The most productive time of day, I guess it depends on what I'm being productive about. So obviously in the mornings I work out, so that's productive. Uh, I'm more, my mind is sharper during the morning. I think as the evening sort of progresses, I get, tired like everybody else. And the be thinking that often more, and now
I think you cut out from. That's not us though. Mayor, you
hello?
still with us?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
still here.
coming in. Perfect.
There we go.
Okay, awesome. And
Cool.
okay, great. So morning, you're sharper, more productive. That makes sense. It didn't always used to be that way for me, but it is these days with two young kids. I'm sure it's the same in your household too.
Yeah, exactly the same. Exactly the same.
But so what time do you go to bed?
So it's interesting. I usually I'm very much into analytics, so I always measure how much I sleep. I measure everything. I tend to go to bed around 10:30. When I'm getting good sleep, I'm on the 10 o'clock side. When I'm not getting as good a sleep, I'm on the 11:30 side, because I usually have to wake up around the same time, which is basically around 6 to 6:30 to get going for the kids and help my wife. And now lately this year, I've been taking my son to school Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, which is a lot of fun. We are blasting the music in the car, having fun.
That is awesome. Yeah, I'm big into the sleep data as well. I have an Oda ring, a ring that you wear when you sleep, and it gives you all kind of data points on how your
Awesome.
sleep was. So if you're
Awesome.
into that, I'll send you a link.
Send
I'm actually
it to me.
originally from Finland, and it's a Finnish company, so gotta support.
Awesome. Yeah. And I have an 8 sleep bed, so I measure the metrics on that.
That's amazing. Very cool.
Yeah.
What is your favorite podcast? You get time to listen in on some podcasts other than this one, of course. What is your favorite?
Other than this one, of course, my favorite one I think is Joe Rogan. I don't really get a chance to listen to podcasts as much as I would like, because I'm usually working or on a podcast. So
Yeah.
but Joe Rogan, obviously, which is very well known, very 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 much heard, is one of my favorite ones.
Awesome. And is there a motto, a mantra, or a quote that you live by? And what is it?
Wow.
I know there's probably so many. Everyone's always like, but I have like 10.
so many quotes. The one that probably is my favorite is "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere," which is a Martin Luther King quote. It's one of my favorite quotes, and I think it pushes you to drive out injustice in any form, in any moment, in anything that you see, big or small, because it threatens the whole peace and fragility of our world.
That's deep.
Yeah, great quote.
So, Mayor, we have two more questions here. And number one, how will the Marlins do this year, and will they win the World Series?
Well, I'm very close to Derek Jeter, so I have to be very careful how I answer this question. I once did a bet. This is a funny bet. That his first year, that if they won 100 games, that I would shave my eyebrows. And obviously, they didn't win 100 games, so I was very safe on that one. They had won the first preseason game. So, but I think they made it to the playoffs. They won the first series. I think that was unexpected. Obviously, it was a COVID season. I think they have a good shot to make the playoffs again. I'm not sure they're going to win the World Series this year, but I think in the next year or two, they have a legitimate chance if they keep on their trajectory.
Awesome.
I'm
looking forward to it. And
yep.
My bets will probably all be lost. But and the last real question here is, what's one bit of advice that you have for aspiring leaders here in South Florida, people who want to get involved in this tech community, who are involved in it, that they can live by?
I guess my one piece of advice would be to dream big. It reminds me of a story of a friend of mine who went to visit with the Prime Minister of Israel, and they asked him, what would you do differently if you could do your life again? And his answer was, I would dream bigger. And imagine that coming from the Prime Minister of a country, you know what I mean, or the president of a country. I mean, someone who's basically achieved the highest position that they can achieve in their country. So I think that certainly is something that I'm always kind of pushing myself. I usually don't have small ideas, or usually big ideas, like boring tunnels underneath the whole city. But if you don't do that, like, for example, I'll give you an example from my life. you know, my wife, obviously I'm, you know, getting up in the middle of the night oftentimes, and I'm tweeting in the middle of the night or whatever. And my wife, like 2 days before the Elon Musk tweet, says to me, you know, honey, I really think you should put the phone in another room, you know, and, you know, because you get up in the middle of the night, you start looking at it and you won't go back to sleep, whatever. So I said, honey, you know, it's just not who I am. It's not me, you know? And then 2 nights later, I'm on the phone at 4 a.m. I see a tweet that Elon makes. I tweet back at him and he tweets back at me, and that starts the whole conversation. So I just think in life, we have to seize opportunities, take advantage of opportunities. I think living unconventionally is not always a bad thing. If you're being driven by your heart and your soul to do whatever it is that you're doing. And I think living a purpose-driven life is important too. You know, you wanna, at the end, you know, we only live life once. You don't get yesterday back. So at the end, you want to be able to reflect in your life and say, yeah, I did everything I wanted to do. I made the world better, and I made a difference.
That's amazing. So inspiring. I'm ready to get to work.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
I invite you, Mayor. I invite everybody listening in. Go to Tech Hub South Florida, learn more about what we do for the South Florida tech ecosystem, the movement that we have going on. There's so many great organizations and people that are a part of this. And also, Joe, thanks to you. Would you like to give a quick hello from Brain Station?
Yeah, quick hello from Brain Station. You guys will be hearing lots more from us. But of course, if you're looking to reskill, retrain, or hire amazing software developers, product designers, data scientists, or digital marketers, we are here to support and help build this ecosystem.
We have quite the team on the podcast here today. Mayor, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you so
guys
much for everything you're doing in South Florida. It's really amazing to have your leadership out here amongst us.
Thank you for believing in me, and your belief in me really fuels me. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.